Hey everyone, it's Mark, your firefighter, realtor, and out-of-state investor. Today I have a special guest on, Jeff Higgins. He's a landlord, he's an investor, and he's a kind of a new owner of a new business that hopefully he's going to talk about. But welcome to my channel, Jeff.
Thanks for having me, Mark. Yeah, excited to have a talk. Let's get into it. Some real estate.
Yeah, so I'm really interested in kind of hearing or kind of telling my audience your backstory because you really come off as a just a regular guy. You figured it out, you got into real estate, but why don't you tell my audience a little about your backstory?
Sure. Yeah, that is my core message is that I've had some success in real estate, and I probably wouldn't have had it in a lot of other industries because it's offers a lot of opportunity if you think long term. So I've been a landlord for about 18 years. I started First house I bought was in 2005. I flipped the house. I did a lot of work on it, and I broke even. And really, I was excited to get into the real estate market, but we were at the height before the great financial crisis, and prices were very, very high. And I always wanted to invest for cash flow. So as soon as cash flow became more easily available in 2008, I was able to start acquiring rental properties to hold for the long term. And as they continued to fall through like 2010, 11, 12, I bought a lot more, and I got very aggressive with debt back then, things I don't do today. But I was able to accumulate a bunch of rental properties. I bought properties every single year since then. Currently own and self-managed 90 units, and it's gone really, really well for me. Real estate's been a blessing. I'm glad I chose the industry. I operate in Class C. I have a lot of Section 8 rentals. And, even today I was out there showing apartments, and people were telling me, there's just no affordable housing, but I can provide that, and I know how to provide it, and I know what the market's looking for. So it's a good business for me.
So much great information there. What am curious about is, was real estate always kind of the vision for you? Like, how did you choose real estate?
Actually, growing up, I was a really bad student, and I got a job out of college, and I was miserable at it. The commute and the bosses and having to be somewhere when I was told to be, it just wasn't for me. Other people can handle it better than I could, but I knew I needed to get outside of the system. And I kind of knew that when I was a young kid. So my father and my uncle and my grandmother, they were all investors. My uncle was on his own. He traded stocks. And I always looked at that, and I was always interested in that. But I had a hard time wrapping my head around liquid securities. They were just too volatile, and I couldn't depend on them. And I like to protect my downside a lot. So I wanted to be an investor, but something more stable with less volatility. So I started reading about real estate, and it made a lot of sense to me. More dependable, more predictable monthly income. So I knew I needed to try that out. So I learned a lot, and then I took the plunge. And then once I saw it was working, I was like, yep, this is for me. And I went all in real hard for a long time.
Yeah, you also kind of touched on, you say you invest for cash flow. And I think a lot of people, especially like in Hawaii, they look at real estate as like an appreciation game. They see these very expensive homes, the values going up. But you touched on investing for cash flow. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. I've always looked for positive cash flow with the idea of, if the appreciation doesn't come, that's out of my control. That's a market. But if I buy something that I know I'm happy with the monthly rents after all my expenses is putting money in my pocket, then I can sit for a very long time indefinitely and just wait. And if appreciation comes, then you benefit from it. But I never buy with negative cash flow hoping for appreciation, because the appreciation doesn't come and you have negative cash flow for a long time, you could be in the one spot you never want to be in, and that's a forced seller. You never want to be forced to sell your properties. You want to sell them when you want to, if you ever do decide to sell. So I think the best possible scenario is to get in a market that looks like it could appreciate, and then find the cash flow in that market. And that's kind of what I did when I moved to Florida in 2019. I saw a property market that was primed to appreciate and still offered some cash flow. So I moved down here.
That's a smart move because yeah, Florida is going crazy. Has the like insurance and like taxes affected you in any way?
So insurance is the big issue in Florida, and it is high, and it's too high, and it goes higher. Property taxes are lower than my previous market in Massachusetts. If you're paying $500,000 for a house, the property taxes might be 8,000 or 9,000, and down here they'd be 6,000 or 7,000. So the property taxes are actually a little bit lower in Florida. They make up for it with the insurance. But overall, I was able to find pretty good cash flow in 2020 and 2019, certainly. And then it's been much more difficult this past year or two, but by establishing myself in the market and seeking out a couple of good relationships, I've managed to find some cash flow deals here the past couple of years as well.
So through this whole journey from when you first started, it has your strategy changed at all? Because like you talked about C-class properties, cash flow. Has anything changed along this journey? Like, are you doing more like fix and flip, short-term rentals, or it's kind of stayed the same for you?
No, it's kind of funny. Sometimes I think about it and I'm like, I'm 18 years into this. Why am I not doing 100-unit complexes by now? And the last couple properties I bought have been very small. I mean, even condos for $120,000. I have been doing the same exact thing. Now, if you showed me a luxury property that happened to offer cash flow somehow, I would be interested, but it just never happens. And I'm very comfortable with Class C. I have relationships with all the Section 8 agencies, so I can get tenants very easy on them. So it's just my bread and butter, and I do that. Now, I have done a lot of complete rehabs. I'll buy a property that's in very bad shape. I will fix it up, but I'll keep it forever after I'm done and just rent it and cash flow on it and refinance it and move it into the next one. I like to hold things indefinitely. I've done some 1031 exchanges, especially from Massachusetts to Florida, but whenever possible, I like to hold indefinitely.
It sounds like you keep it fairly simple. Like you don't overcomplicate things. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And at this point in my life, I optimize for lifestyle a little bit. You know, if you showed me a phenomenal deal that was an hour and a half away, or a pretty good deal that was 10 minutes from my house, at this point in my life, I'd take the 10 minutes from my house because I self-manage, and I understand the debate on both sides of that. If I didn't manage, I'd have more time and I could scale quickly. For me, it was the opposite. I was able to scale more quickly and take on more debt because I managed it effectively. My cash flow was higher because I wasn't paying a property manager. So that made me, as a defensive-minded person, okay with taking on more debt because the cash flow could support the debt. So it actually allowed me to scale quicker. It's just the way I do it. I understand other people, it's not for everyone, but it's allowed me to have a lot of success.
Yeah, I love it. I actually heard you on my friend Joel Farrell's Strive for 25 podcast, and you were talking about that same thing about the self-managing, the two different sides on it. And that got me thinking. So I'm actually gonna dabble a little bit into the self-managing remotely kind of model on a few of my properties and see how I like it or see how it can be done. But just from listening to you, exactly like you're saying, your cash flow is going to be greater. No one's going to care about your property more than yourself, and it allows you to maybe scale a little bit more. But yeah, they're definitely going to kind of dabble my foot in that self-managing realm. But I love the story. I mean, I know real estate is not the only thing that you're doing right now. I know you have a big portfolio. You're self-managing it. You moved to Florida. But what else are you doing right now that kind of takes up your time? What new ventures are you enjoying right now?
So, I'm a family man, so I spend a lot of time with my family. I coach youth sports here in Sarasota, which takes up a lot of time. But my biggest career passion right now is I just became a co-owner in the Fraternity of Excellence, which is an online men's group. And we shouldn't even call it an online men's group because we meet a lot in person as well. But it's a group that men join who are looking to improve, to lead excellent lives. And it could be financial. We do have a real estate channel. I do coach people on real estate inside of it, but it's also about improving your marriage, improving your parenting skills, improving your fitness, everything on the road to living a more excellent life. And I joined as a member years ago, and it helped me improve my life so drastically that I've become extremely passionate about it. And I want other people to benefit like I did. So it's a perfect role for me. I'm very excited about it. And that's where I'm spending a lot of my time these days.
Yeah, I love the message. But how did you, I guess, come across that? Like, how did you, like you said, you joined years ago. Did somebody else recommend it to you, or how did you come across it?
I found a guy named Zach Small on Twitter, and I started reading a lot of what Zach wrote, and I contacted him for some coaching. Specifically, I wanted to improve aspects of my marriage. My marriage was good, but I wanted it to be great. I wanted it to be the best. I wanted it to be the most loving, passionate thing in the world. And I knew there was a little room for improvement. So from working with Zach and reading what he had to write, I realized there were things that I was being weak at that I needed to strengthen. And over the course of time, I addressed those things. And today I can share that I have such an amazing, satisfying marriage. It's a great source of joy in my life. And my wife is happier than ever as well. So over the course of years, I've become friends with Zach, and now we're partners. So it's an amazing tool. You know, a lot of guys are friends with whoever's local, whoever's in proximity. You become friends by accident. It just happens. I think with today's technology and the online world and Zooms and everything, you can seek out friends that are going to help you grow. And I think it's so important to do that. And a lot of people need to be more deliberate about seeking out the right type of people, kind of like we're talking right now. You reached out to me, you heard my story about real estate, and now we're talking, and now, you know, we're connected. And I think a lot more people should take advantage of that.
Totally agree. I love what I'm doing. I never thought I never thought I'd start a YouTube channel, and I never in my wildest dreams thought I'd enjoy doing it, but I'm loving it right now. Like you're saying, meeting, connecting with other individuals, talking about their story, just connecting with them. And yeah, it's been a great experience for me so far.
Yeah,
So
I can relate. I'm new to the content creation. I met a lot of people in the past few months, and it's definitely added another element to my life. Things keep getting better.
I was gonna just touch on that. Like you were talking about that off camera a little bit. Like you kind of just started this kind of social media online presence. So you have a podcast also, correct?
Yes, I have my own the Efficient Victory podcast, and sometimes I talk about men's issues, and sometimes they're real estate related episodes. And I also just started a podcast with the fraternity called The Path to Excellence, where the three co-owners are going to talk about men's issues and interview some people and kind of give you a sneak peek into what goes on inside of the Fraternity of Excellence.
Nice. There's no stopping. You just got in and you went full charge ahead. So was the podcast, was that before you started doing like Instagram and Twitter, or the Twitter and Instagram started first and then you kind of ventured off into the podcast side?
You know, pretty much all at the same time. I intentionally kept private for a long time for a number of reasons. You know, some of them just thinking I don't need any attention. But another thing, it was kind of fear. You know, you're worried about, I don't know, looking stupid or something. And once I got over that and I realized that doesn't matter at all, and you can push the fear aside and just, you know, someone can benefit from what I have to say, so you might as well say it. I got the time. I know a few things, not just about real estate, but like especially the last couple of years of my life have been very profound because I've managed to overcome a lot of things, some self-doubt, some anxiety. I'm happier today than I've ever been. So I want to share that with people. I know there's a lot of men that feel isolated and lost and don't know how to find the solution. So once I realized and made the connection by me making content, by me having a podcast, talking on Twitter, I might be able to help some men find what they need to find. Then it became easy to make the content. Now I'm motivated, and it's a mission, and it's something I enjoy doing.
I love it. Do you think that mission would be possible without kind of that real estate, that kind of financial security side?
I don't know. I don't know. You know, probably not for me. Just because I was really driven to be financially independent. Like that was my main focus from when I was young until I got it. So I probably would be still searching for that if I hadn't found it. Maybe I would have found it in another realm, but I do have a great lifestyle today in that I'm able to manage my properties efficiently, and I have time to focus my energies on other places. So real estate has offered me the opportunity to now have this other chapter in my life where I'm able to not strictly pursue money, but actually pursue meaning. And I'm very grateful to be in that position to do that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I try to tell a lot of the guys that I'm stationed with at the firehouse. They see me doing all this social media stuff and real estate. I'm like, you just, do it, go hard for 5 years, 10 years. And then now you can free up all this time and you can follow other passions you want, like whether it be, like fishing, like some kind of fishing cruise or boat cruise, but you just allow yourself to get this time back that if you're just going to go down the W2 path and work for your pension, you're going to be working till you're like 55, 60, 65 years old, and you're not going to be able to get that time back. So that's kind of where my message is about kind of getting out of the rat race and then finding your financial freedom. So and I chose real estate. Sounds like you chose real estate, but you also were talking to me about some other ways that you're earning income and investing in other asset classes.
I do a bunch of stuff. I made an angel investment a long time ago that's turned out very successfully, and I actively trade. I do a lot of short-term trading, which I mentioned earlier. I got into real estate because I couldn't wrap my head around the stocks, but I never let it fully go. I've always watched the stock market since I was probably 8 years old. I can remember my grandmother would talk to me when I was 8 years old, and she would treat me like I was an adult. So I learned a lot about probability, and she would she would take me to horse races, and I when I left my first corporate job, I played online poker for a couple of years. So I've always had an interest in gambling, probability, making money outside of the normal system. So when I had some free time after real estate was going, I really started studying trading. I took some seminars, I took some courses, I joined some advisory services for a couple of years, and I learned stuff from some very, very good traders. And I developed my own system. It's not like theirs, but it's a system whereby I am very, very active. And somehow, even though I don't follow their advice, I do pretty well trading, to the point that I'm kind of proud of it. I posted on my Twitter and stuff. I mean, I'm a good trader at this point.
No, that's the one thing that I really kind of didn't I wasn't aware of. I didn't really realize that people were doing all these other things to make income. I was definitely just, led down the path, you get your college degree, get a good job, get your pension, get your medical benefits, and, work your 30, 40 years, and then try to enjoy retirement then. And, the shutdowns opened my eyes to a whole new world where I just saw people losing their jobs, getting laid off. And it made me realize how risky I was being when my finances were kind of, I only had one stream of income. So for you, was there any moment that really kind of flipped that switch for you? I know you're saying you were a bad student or whatnot, but was there a moment where you just kind of realized like there is so many opportunities out there and you don't have to do the traditional, college route, W-2 route?
I don't know exactly when I discovered it. I can distinctly remember, though, being in fourth grade, and just I moved to a new school and just hating it. And my dad worked really hard. He would leave the house at 5:30 in the morning and get home at 7:30 or 8 at night. And we spent time on the weekends and stuff. But I knew that's not what I wanted. And I just, in my peripheral, I'd watch people that were entrepreneurs, and like I observed the trading aspect, and I'm like, why couldn't that be a full-time thing? Why isn't investing a full-time thing? And my uncle lived an unorthodox life where he traded, and he actually traveled around to pool halls and stuff, and hustle pool a little bit. And like, it always appealed to me. When I was a kid and my teacher would ask, what do you want to do when you grow up? My answer was something illegitimate. I just knew I didn't want to be a part of the system. So I was always of that mindset. And, I'd have hustles in grade school where I'd buy wholesale candy and then I distribute it at retail in my school. Or I worked for a baseball card store, and I'd consign the baseball cards from the store. I'd bring them into the school and have people buy them. And I was a golf caddy. I've always hustled to try to make money outside of a traditional job.
I think there's going to be a book in your future. Maybe I think you should write a book about your life story. I mean, I'm feeling there's a lot of amazing stories of, horse racing, poker and gambling. I feel it's going to be a good book. It's going to be a bestseller, I think.
I do want to do that at some point once yeah, definitely in a few years.
Well, I'll be on the lookout for it. But I also, I kind of want to touch on, so much social media people out there kind of, their message is real estate is passive, and, it's easy. You can build all this wealth. And, for me, I try to tell people it's not easy in the beginning. It is a lot of work. You kind of have to take your time, be patient, but like you were talking about earlier, you don't want to ever be forced to sell. You want to hold on to these assets. So for anyone kind of wanting to maybe get into the real estate game, or they're on the fence right now, what kind of advice could you give them?
So my advice is always to look in your backyard, in your local market. Now, of course, if you're living in San Francisco or Manhattan, it's really, really difficult because prices are so high. But if you're in anywhere that is remotely affordable that offers any cash flow, I prefer investing locally just so I can have my hands on it. You know more about the place you live than any other city. You might know where development is starting, so you can get in front of it. I advise people to invest in neighborhoods that aren't the best. You don't want to go into a total war zone. You don't want to go somewhere where you feel unsafe, but you kind of want to dance on that edge a little bit just because that's where the cash flow is the best. So that's my style, and other people do it and they make a lot of money. I mean, short-term rentals are so popular right now. I don't like them personally, and I wouldn't advise anyone to do them. Now, there are some people that are very, very successful at them, but I like what I do. I find it to be the safest. I find it to be the most consistent demand. When I envision bad scenarios of severe recessions that may never come or might come, I feel like my asset class does a lot better than all the other ones. So it helps me be comfortable with where I'm at.
So has it been a smooth journey for you? Has there been any hiccups, or is there any kind of experience that you could share to us, like a mistake you made or what you learned from?
Yeah, I mean, the first bunch of years learning property management and being in my 20s and not knowing how to handle situations, I made plenty of mistakes I wouldn't make today. Setting expectations up front, I'm really good at that today. I tell the tenant exactly what to expect, exactly what I expect of them, and what to expect of me. I take my responsibilities very seriously. If your plumbing has a problem, if your electric has a problem, and I need you to alert me about that quickly, and I'm going to take care of it quickly. But at the same time, if your light bulb goes out, do not call me, because that's your responsibility to change that. So when you communicate the expectations, things run a lot smoother. But as far as the biggest mistake I've made, I tried to start a property management company probably in like 2011, and I was selling some properties turnkey and doing the property management. And I realized that my market just did not have enough supply, that I was going to sell all my good properties and just be a property manager with no assets. And luckily, I recognized that and said, instead of serving clients and making them rich, why don't I make myself my own client, hold the properties, and manage them effectively? So fortunately, I made that pivot just in time, and that's a good road that I didn't go down that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I that's what I like about real estate. There's so many ways to make money. And like you're talking about, you like your asset class, you like your strategy. Some people, like you said, some people have done short-term rentals that are doing well. Some people do fix and flip, some people do, apartment building, multifamily. But there's so many ways to get into real estate and succeed. But you kind of just gotta focus on, what your vision is. And for me, like I said, I'm boring, buy and hold. Like I said, don't want to lose the asset. And same thing, just like you, the cash flow, the C-class properties, to me seems kind of the safest, and especially kind of the economy that we're headed down right now. But so for you, like, what's your maybe end goal? Like, are you looking to have a certain amount of doors, or are you kind of more shifting towards that, the social media podcast and building this brand, and the kind of portfolio is kind of just on the back burner right now?
That's a good question. I mean, what's my goal? I'm at my goal, living it. Most of my goals do revolve around the Fraternity of Excellence right now and growing that. I continue to buy. When I see deals, I buy. I think I have to get to 100 just to do it. I'm at 90 doors, so I'll probably need to get to the 100 just to do it. But basically, it depends on my cash situation. Like I bought a lot of units in the last couple of years because I was fortunate to find some good deals. So I'm digesting them a little bit. If something incredible came along, I would figure out how to take it down. But right now I can kind of focus on the fraternity, manage what I got. I have my eyes open if something comes up, but I don't have huge aspirations to get a much, much bigger portfolio or anything like that. I'm open to it if the opportunity arises, but I'm very satisfied with my real estate at this point, and I'm more motivated to build the Fraternity of Excellence into something that can be much, much bigger. Right now we have 160 members. I could see us having 10,000, and obviously I wouldn't be able to oversee and be as one-on-one with the guys at that point. But between hiring coaches and having different branches and stuff, I think it's a resource that people need. So I am very focused on that.
I love it. So, while we're on that topic then right now, where can people go to get more information about it? Like, where can they find you?
So you can find me on Twitter at Jeffrey Higgins, or you can find me on Instagram at Jeff Hig, JEFFHIG. You can go to Fraternity of Excellence.com and join, and that's what you should do. But if you need a little more time to think about it, we have a free Facebook group called the Path to Excellence. So if you look up the Path to Excellence on Facebook, you jump in the free group, you'll start seeing a little bit of our content, and you'll see if it resonates. And if it resonates, you can join the fraternity and stand side by side me and start improving.
I love it. I advise everyone to go check it out. I mean, just seeing you on social media. I love your presence. I love your message, and it's very relatable. I think anyone can relate to your message. Like you're saying, you're kind of, the regular guy. That's kind of your message that you're trying to get across. And I love it. And, for me, I feel as if like I read Rich Dad Poor Dad maybe like 20 years ago, and it didn't relate to me. Like I said, I always thought like your home is an asset, and that's what I was kind of taught when I was growing up. And the book just didn't make sense to me. And now that I read it now, it just totally, completely makes sense. And I'm like, man, I wish I started sooner. But is there any book or like podcast that has kind of helped you in this journey that kind of helped change your mindset and really focus on, like you're saying, financial freedom, being a better husband, being a better father, and whatnot?
So many resources. And when I was first learning, I went to a lot of seminars. I joined a lot of real estate coaching groups. I went to, so many that I don't even want to name them all because some of them don't even exist anymore. Of course, I did like Rich Dad Poor Dad. It had a profound effect on me when I first read it. But I love Landlording by Lee Robinson, which is a book on hands-on efficient property management. I don't hear people talking about that one. There's another book I love called the Section 8 Bibles. There's volume 1, 2, and 3. And these two guys in Philadelphia, they bought like hundreds of single families in rough areas, and they got them managed very, very efficiently. They had a system and they got rich doing it. And they wrote a great couple books. But I'm always reading, I'm always looking out for stuff. As far as resources to improve marriage, I mean, it's the Fraternity of Excellence. There's no comparison. I've read a lot of things and I've talked to a lot of people. That's the place to go. So many good resources out there today. Real estate, there's plenty of them. And even if you take a resource and you read an entire book and you only take one thing out of it, well, then the book was worth reading. You can take something valuable. So I encourage everyone to really dig deep and read broadly. And that's how you get where you want to go.
So how many, so for your members, are they kind of spread out all across the country right now, or are they kind of primarily in, the East Coast market?
It's all across the world. We have guys in New Zealand. We have guys in England. We have people in Canada. There is a concentration of guys in the Carolinas. There's a few guys in Florida. We meet up pretty regularly. A lot of our meetups are Carolina, Florida, in the Northeast. I mean, I met a guy in Massachusetts last week. I was up looking at the properties and met a guy for dinner. So there's lots of meetups there. But we're growing and we're everywhere. I had a meetup in Seattle a couple months ago. So.
I love it. You guys should come and have something in Hawaii too. Maybe, write it off for taxes or something.
Yeah, we'll look at that.
Well, I also, I like to ask my guests, as you can see, like all the superheroes in the background. My son is very big into superheroes, but I always want to know, like, is there a superpower that has helped you in this journey that you're on?
It's a great question. My message keeps on being like, I'm just a regular guy and real estate's for the regular guy. So I'm not sure if I have any superpowers. I mean, you know what? If I have to answer that question, I would say I have an ability to think long-term, and I align my short-term actions over my long-term vision. So I was never trying to get rich in a year. I was never trying to get rich quick. We were talking about stock trading before. I don't trade options. I trade shares because I'm patient with money. And I think, you're not going to be, some people can get rich real quick, but oftentimes they lose it, and most people fail at the attempt. But if you're able to be patient and get rich slowly, it's a much higher probability of success, and you're more likely to keep it. So long-term thinking, I would say, is my superpower.
Well, I also want to say that I think you're gonna, outgrow this whole regular guy kind of persona. I mean, I think your message is gonna be changing because, yeah, I mean, what you're trying to promote out there and everything is just amazing. I don't think I mean, it is for the regular guy, but you're kind of getting to that next level of really helping people and, kind of having this whole mindset and financial freedom and just amazing story, and I love it, and I'm glad that I can share this to my audience because like I said, I found you on social media, I found you on Twitter. I love your message, and I love how simple you keep it for all of us.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm glad someone's getting something out of it. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel like it's worth it. And it's fun. I'm glad to be out here. And if anyone wants to contact me or DM me, I'm happy to talk to you. Just reach out to me at Jeffrey Higgins on Twitter or at Jeff Hig on Instagram, and we can chat.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on. I know you're busy, and we had some technical difficulties with the internet, but thanks for making time for me, and we'll keep in touch now, okay?
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me on, Mark.
All right. Thanks for coming on, Jeff. Bye.
Talk to you later.